Welcome back to On the Same Page. We are on Daf Chaf Zayin Amud Beis 27b of Maseches Kiddushin. We are 3 lines down from the top of the page. The Gemara says, Misayeh Lev Shmuel. This is a proof for Shmuel. So it's referring back to the Brisa that we learned at the end of last week's Amud. And in that Brisa, it stated that if a person sells 10 fields that are in 10 different countries, 10 different places, the purchaser, when he makes a chazaka on one of them, when he performs an act of ownership to acquire one of them, he can acquire all of them even though he didn't do anything to those other fields. If he paid for them, then he can acquire them all by making an act of ownership, an act of chazaka on one of the fields. So the Gemara says, 3 lines down, it says, Misayeh leil Shmuel. This is a proof for Shmuel, this brisa, because Shmuel actually said this also. De Amar Shmuel, Shmuel said, Machar lo eser sados be'eser medinos. If somebody sold another person 10 fields in 10 different countries, Kevan shehechzik be'achas mehen, kana es kulan. Once he is machzik, once he takes possession of one of them, then he acquires all of them. So exactly as the brisa said, was something that Shmuel would teach this brisa as a proof for Shmuel. Amar Rav Acha brei di Rav Ika. Rav Acha, the son of Rav Ika, said, Teda. He said, I can bring you a proof, a logical proof, that such a thing should work, that when you acquire one field, you should be able to acquire all the other fields. Sheyilu masar lo eser behemos be'afsar echad. If a person would hand over 10 animals, all attached to a single bridle, a single reins, and the person would take possession of all 10 animals by holding on to one bridle, V'amar le kani, and he would say, acquire, mi lo kani. Wouldn't that work to acquire? Isn't that obvious? So, So he says, by that logic, it should be the same thing with the pieces of land. If you take possession of one, then you should be able to take possession of all the other ones. Seemingly, part of his argument is that the land is all attached. So in some way, so therefore, when you take one, you're taking all of them. So if I show ownership, if I show control of one piece, I'm showing control of all of them. So too, if you have a bunch of animals and they're all attached, and you show ownership of one by pulling the bridle, so that should show ownership. That shows ownership for all of them. And he says that is obvious. Apparently, everybody knows that, and therefore it should be true for the field. You acquire one, you could acquire all of them. The Gemara says, no, it's not really a good proof. Amar le, he said back, midami. Is it really similar? Hasam igudo biyado, hacha ein igudo biyado. There's a difference. In the case of the 10 animals, igudo biyado, they're all in his hand. He's actually like holding on to them. They're all attached to this rope, this bridle that he's holding on to. But in the case of the fields, ein igudo biyado, he's not holding on to, and I guess it comes down to control, I guess. In the case of the animals, so they're all attached. So yeah, when you're holding one, you're controlling all of them. But in the case of the fields, they may be attached, but they're in different places, different countries. By showing control over one of them, you're not showing control over the other ones. So the logic doesn't follow. You can't prove from the fact that it works by animals to take the bridle and all the ones that are attached come with it. That's because you're controlling them, as opposed to the field. So that logic doesn't prove Shmuel's din, but we have a brisa still that does. Ikka Amri, there are those who say that it was a different statement of Rav Acha brei di Rav Ika. That Amar Rav Acha brei di Rav Ika, Rav Acha the son of Rav Ika said, Teida de lo kani. I'll prove to you that you shouldn't acquire, that Shmuel is wrong. That when you acquire one field, you don't acquire all the other fields. Ilu masar lo eser behemos be'afsar echad. If a person would hand over 10 animals all attached to one bridle, the Amar, and he would say, Amar Lang, you would say to him, Mizu Kni. This one you should acquire. Mikani? Do you acquire all of them? No, if he said, acquire this one, then you only acquire this one. You don't acquire all of the other ones. So too, he says, when you acquire one field and you don't see the other fields there, then you shouldn't acquire the other fields as well. The way Rashi says it is, it's not necessarily that he said, acquire this field. The truth is, actually, I guess, seemingly what's going on here is he's telling him, acquire this field, and he doesn't stipulate the other fields. And Shmuel's saying, still you acquire the other fields, they're paid for. And Rabbi Achbar Davika is saying, no, you don't acquire the other fields. Because just like if you would say acquire this animal, you only acquire that animal. So if you say acquire this field, you only acquire that field. You have to acquire the other field separate. So the Gemara says, Mi dami, it's not really comparable. Hasam gufim muchlakim. In the case of the animals, they're different animals. They're separate gufim, they're separate bodies. So if you tell him to acquire this one, he acquires this one, and he doesn't acquire the other ones. But when it comes to land, sadna da'ara chadu. The layout of all the land, the sheet of all the land is all attached. It's all attached, and therefore, since I don't know what would be if you're on, if there's an ocean in between, but at least even if they're in different provinces, but they're on the same body of land, so the Gemara is saying that even that if a person, the agreement was to purchase 10 fields, and he paid for the 10 fields, and at the time he only went and took possession of one of them, and maybe he didn't stipulate that by taking possession of this one he's taking possession of all of them, but that was his intent. So therefore, since they are all attached, then that can still work. It's not like the case where of the animals, they are attached in that they are all attached to the same bridle, but they're not guf echad, they're not one body. So if you specifically acquire one, it's only that one. As opposed to if you, when it comes to the land, even if you are acquiring one piece of land, but since they're all attached, that act can actually work to acquire all the other pieces of land. Okay, so that's, but in any event, at the end of the day, Shmuel's statement had a brisa to back him up, that when you acquire one piece of land, one field, you can acquire other land in other places. Now the Gemara goes back to the Mishnah. The Mishnah had said another rule in comparing nechasim she'esh lהם achrayus with nechasim she'ein lהם achrayus, which means comparing land and comparing metaltaling, movable objects. So in general, a person never takes a shvuah, never takes an oath about land. Ein nishbayin ala karkos. It's a rule. There's no obligating a shvuah, an oath in court on matters relating to land. But there are sometimes oaths taken in court on matters relating to movable objects. The Mishnah said that zokikin as a nechasim sheish lהם achrayus lishav alein, that metaltalin, if you're taking an oath on movable objects, that can bring along with it an oath on land. Meaning, although you usually can't make an oath on land, but if you're already making an oath on movable objects, then we have a concept of gilgul shvuah, of rolling over another oath on you, that once you're taking one oath, then we can require you to take other oaths that you wouldn't normally be required to take. So even though you're not normally required to take an oath about land in any situation, but once a person's taking an oath about metaltalin, we can roll over another oath on him about land. So the Gemara says, Amar Ula. Ula says, Minayim lagilgul shvuah min atara. What is a source for gilgul shvuah, for rolling over a shvuah like this, an oath, from the Torah? What's the source for this? That once you're taking an oath on one thing, we can now make you take an oath on something else that you wouldn't have otherwise been required to take. So it says that the source comes from the section of the Torah that deals with the sota, the wayward wife. Sota is a woman that secluded herself with a man. Her husband warned her not to do that. She then did so again, and there were witnesses to that. So then she's required to she's brought to the Beis Hamikdash. She's given the special water to drink, and if she was indeed guilty, so then like her innards implode and she dies. If she was innocent, so then she's safe. So it says in the process there, in Parshas Naso, it says Ve'amra ha'isha amen amen, that the woman says amen amen. She says amen, I agree. So what is she agreeing to? Utanan, so the Mishnah says Amahi omeres amen amen. What does she say? Why does she say it twice? The Torah says she says amen amen twice. What is she saying? So she's saying amen al ha'ala, amen al hashvua. She's saying she's acknowledging agreement to the Allah, the curse, because there's a curse that's said to her that says that if you really sinned, then first of all we try to get her to admit to it, because then we can avoid this. But if she won't admit, then she has to drink the sota waters. So we get her to agree to the curse, that if you indeed were guilty, you will be cursed, you'll have this, that your stomach will implode. So that's the first amen. And the second one is that we require her to take an oath that she did not sin. And that's a pasuk. It says Vishpia Osahi. He'll make her swear, and she says amen to that. She basically she agrees to swear that she did not sin with this man. So, but that's not it. She continues and it says amen ime ish zeh. She's saying yes, if it was from this man that I was caught with. I agree, even if it was with a different man. I mean, maybe there was a whole different story that you don't know about. She's admitting, she's agreeing to the curses. She's swearing to those situations that she didn't do anything wrong also, in other situations. Amen shalosatisi arusa unesua. She says, amen, she's swearing again that she did not sin as a arusa when she was betrothed. And when she was married, Vishomeres Yavam, and in the case where she was a woman whose husband died and she fell to Yibum, who had her in marriage, Vishomeres Yavam is someone who's in the interim. She's forbidden to another man until either Yibum or Chalitza is performed. And she again swears that she didn't do anything wrong as a Shomeres Yavam, Ukenusa, or after the Yibum, she did not sin. So all of that is rolled onto her, or actually, not clear if it's being rolled onto her, if these are separate cases. That's the Gemara is going to examine. Are these separate situations that she would say amen if she was betrothed, she would say amen, she would swear if she was married, she would swear if she was Shomeres Yavam, she would swear in all these different situations, we would require her to swear that she did not sin, or, and this is what we're going to work towards, perhaps this is that we're rolling all of these oaths into one. Once she's taking one, she takes all of these. So not into one, but one after the other. We put them all together because she's already swearing. So the Gemara examines it and it says, what are the options here? Heichi dami, what's the case? Ahai arusa heichi dami. What's the case where she's swearing about that she didn't sin when she was betrothed? Ilema dekani lakishi arusa. If they'll tell me that the case of the betrothed woman is she secluded herself when she was betrothed, she got the warning from her husband, and then she still did it again, and then she and she's drinking the sota waters. This process is going on while she's still just betrothed, not yet fully married. There's Kiddushin, but there's not Nisuin yet. So then, that can't be, because we learned in a Mishnah, Arusa v'shomeres yavam lo shosos v'lonotos ksuba. That an Arusa, a betrothed woman, or a shomeres yavam, if she's someone who's waiting for Yibum, for elaborate marriage, so they don't drink the water of the sota if they are accused. V'lo notos ksuba. They also lose out on their ksuba. They get divorced and that's it. But they don't drink the sota waters. So it can't be that that's the case, that this is all going on when she was betrothed. My time, how do we know that that's true? Because Tachas Ishecha Merachmanon, the pasuk says, under your husband, meaning as a married woman, not as a betrothed woman. That's when it's relevant, the parsha, the section of Sota. Vileka, we don't have that. She's not Tachas Ishecha, she's not married to her husband yet. Ella, so rather, maybe the case is Dekani Lak Shiarusa, Vinistera Kashiarusa. Maybe the seclusion, the warning and the seclusion happened when she was betrothed. But now she's married. But now she got married, and now she's being forced to drink the sota waters. Now she's Tachas Ishecha, she's under her husband, she's married. And there you have it's relevant, she has to swear about when she was in Arusa, but she's married now, so it's relevant to her to have this parsha of sota. Says the Gemara, no, it's not, because mi badki la maya. In that case, does the water really check her? If she was warned and secluded when she was betrothed, and now she got married to her husband? V'nikaha ish me'avon. Amar Rahman, the Torah says that the man, the husband, is free of sin. And what do we learn from that? Bisman shayish menuka me'avon ma'im bodkim asishto. If the man is free of sin, then the waters check her and his wife. But if he's not free of sin, then it's not going to work. And here he's not free of sin. Why? Because once he warns her, and she's still caught with two Adam, secluding with another man, this, now her husband, or her fiancé here, she's betrothed, is not allowed to be with her. He's not allowed to marry her. Because she's forbidden to him until we work this out, until the sota waters do their thing. So, or she admits, or, then she's for sure forbidden from him. But if she actually committed adultery, she becomes forbidden for him. But even now, in the balance where we're not sure what happened, she's forbidden to her husband. He's forbidden to her. So he's not allowed to now go ahead and marry her. And he did, we're saying, because we're suggesting maybe the case is she was warned and secluded. She was secluded and warned and secluded when she was a betrothed woman. And now they got married, and now he's taking her, and now they're married, so it's relevant to talk about sota. No. Very nice, they're married, but he sinned, and then so it's not relevant. The sota waters don't check her if he sinned as well. So what's the case? What's the case where he's going to swear, she's going to swear about when she was betrothed? Ela yedei Gilgal. It must be. You see from here, there's a concept of Gilgal Shvua, that we just roll it on. Normally, she wouldn't have to swear about what happened when she was betrothed. But once she's already swearing about what happened when she was married, she has to swear that she didn't sin, she didn't commit adultery. So we say, okay, and while you're at it, can you swear about what happened when you were betrothed? We just want to be sure that you didn't sin then. Because we can just, once you're swearing once, we can roll on other oaths. Or if she was a Yavama, there was Yibum, we can have her swear about when she was waiting for Yibum. So we can roll all these things onto her, even though normally you wouldn't swear. So that's the source for Gilgal Shvua, for adding an oath on. Once you're taking one, you can add more that you wouldn't have otherwise had to take. The Gemara says, Ashkechan Sota de Isura. So we find it in the context of Sota. Sota is in the realm of Isser Veheter, of permitted, permission and prohibition. Mamona Minalam, how do we know that it applies to monetary matters, to civil law, that they come to court over a monetary issue, that we can make the same rule, we can apply the same rule and say, once you're swearing about this, swear about this. Who says? Maybe it's specific to matters of ritual, of Isser Veheter, of family law. I mean, there's other types of Isser Veheter also. Here it's familial law. So how do we know it applies to Mammon, to monetary law as well? So Tara Devei Rabbi Shmuel, they taught in the base medrash of Rabbi Shmuel, Kal V'chomer. We can learn it logically with the Kal V'chomer, A for Tiore. Uma Sota, top of the next page, Shelo Nitna Lihitava, Beid Echad, Megalgalin Mammon, Megalgalin. If it's true by a Sota, where Sota is is, we'll call it weaker in a certain way. It's more lenient. It's less common to swear in a certain sense because when it comes to sota, you always need two witnesses in order to start the process, in order to require her to come to the Beis HaMikdash and to swear. There have to be two witnesses that she secluded herself after she was warned. And that's the only way to make her swear. But yet we do make her swear, and we do Gilgul Shvua, we roll on other oaths. Mamon shenitan litava beid echad. Monetary matters, which it is relevant that she will, or a person could have a claim against them backed by one witness, and they could be forced to swear. Nitan litava, they could have to swear based on one witness. So eno din shemagalgalin, isn't it all the more so a fortiori that we should apply the rule of Gilgul Shvua, of rolling over more oaths? In other words, we see that when it comes to monetary matters, it's easier for us to make you swear, because there could be a case of a monetary matter where you have to swear based on the testimony of one witness. So if a person claims, Reuven claims that Shimon owes him money, and Shimon denies the whole thing. So if there's no witnesses, then nothing happens. Or hamotzi mechaver, if you want to extract money, you have to prove it. So if there's no witnesses and no documentation, then Shimon gets off. If there are two witnesses that Shimon owes Reuven money, so then he has to pay him. What if there's only one witness? So there, in such a situation, that one witness is effective enough to require that Shimon at least swear that he doesn't owe money. He can't just claim he doesn't owe money, he now has to swear in court. So a single witness, when it comes to monetary matters, can cause a shvua, can cause an oath. When it comes to sota, he can't. If she has secluded herself after being warned, and one witness saw, he doesn't do anything. You need two witnesses to see it, and then they could make her start the sota process. So we see that one witness works by monetary matters, one witness doesn't work by sota when it comes to obligating an oath. So says the Gemara, so if it's true that by sota there's a concept of Gilgul Shvua, of rolling over and adding an additional oath, so all the more so by monetary matters, where it's easier to get a shvua, because even one witness could require a shvua, all the more so will we apply the concept of Gilgul Shvua, of rolling over an oath, adding on more oaths once you're taking one. The Gemara says, 3 lines down, Ashkechan bevadai. Now when it comes to monetary matters, I understand that if somebody makes a claim that's definitive, so he says, you owe me money, that in such a case, we can apply Gilgul Shvua. Let's say there was no Eid Echad. There was no single witness. Actually, let's make the case like this. He says, you're on my land. So land isn't something that you ever have to swear for. But let's say he says it might be my land. Or he says, they were dividing something up, and he says, I think you took too much. So he's not even sure. So can we require an oath in such a situation? It's a suffix. It's not even a claim with certainty. It's I think you might have done something wrong. So can we require somebody to take an oath, the other person, who's being claimed against, who's being accused, not firmly accused, but I think you might have. So could we require him to swear once he's already swearing about something that he's obligated to swear about? So the answer is yes. Gilgul Shvua will say in certain situations that yes, he has to swear even though the claim against him was uncertain. So where do we know that from? Safek Minola, how do we know that even in such a situation, Gilgul Shvua, rolling over an oath, could apply? So the Gemara says, Tanya, we learn in a Brisa, Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai Omer, because Nemra Shvua b'chutz v'Nemra Shvua b'fnim. We have many cases where you swear outside the Beis HaMikdash, that's normal monetary cases. And then we have Shvua Bifnim. We have oaths Bifnim, inside the Azara, in the Beis HaMikdash, which is for a sota. Ma Shvua Ha'amura Bifnim, Aseh Asa Basafek Kevadeh. Just like the oath that's taken in the Beis HaMikdash, meaning the oath of a sota, we treat a safek, we treat an uncertainty like a vadai, like something that we are certain of. So too, the shvua, the oath that we talk about outside the Beis HaMikdash, meaning in court, a regular oath in court, we will treat a safek, a doubt, like a vadai, like something certain, like we're certain of it, meaning they're equal, there's no difference. So just like when it comes to sota, so we, first of all, the original oath of a sota is based on a certain level of uncertainty, right? They don't know what she did, and that's why we're requiring her to swear. But okay, that may be specific to sota. That's how the shvua, that's how the oath is designed. Maybe we can't really glean too much from that. But we're rolling over other oaths. We're rolling over an oath about when she was engaged, when she was betrothed, and there we have it's total uncertainty if anything happened. And nobody's accusing her of anything there. There's no accusation, but we're saying we're going to treat this almost like it's a claim of vada. It's a certain claim. You did something. Now we're claiming you did. Swear that you didn't. We're treating the doubt, the uncertain case, like almost like a certainty. So too, when it comes to monetary shvua, monetary oaths, also, it's not limited to where there's a claim that's a definite claim, a definitive claim. You owe me money. That will roll over that oath and say, you have to swear in that case. But the accused, the one who's being claimed against. So not only does he have to swear in that case, but even if the accusation or the claim is of doubt, is uncertain, you might owe me. But once we're dealing with Gilgal Shvua, with rolling over, with adding on Shvuas, adding on oaths, once you're already taking one, so we can do that even on an uncertain claim. Just like by Sota, it's all about uncertain claims. We don't really think or know that she did anything wrong, especially when she was betrothed. Maybe when she was already married, but there we have witnesses that she was secluded, but in particular when she was betrothed, we don't have any indication that anything may have happened. Yet we say, okay, it's a suffix, it's a doubt, she's going to have to swear about that. So when it comes to money, even on things that are doubts, we can require that the person swear to deny those claims. Okay, we'll stop there.